It's live drive. Okay, welcome back. You're listening to 91.3 Lagos Talks. It is now 4:30. Time for us to go into the office. And if it's your first time listening, welcome. If it's not your first time listening, of course, that the office is proudly brought to you by the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria, CIPM, and Lagos Talks 91.3. So this evening, as usual, we'll talk about something interesting, and not just talk about it. We'll have an expert in human resource management join us in a few seconds, okay? Our guest, as usual, is an esteemed individual, a perfect gentleman, and he would, for the next 25 minutes, he'll be with us discussing on design and implementation of competency framework. Design and implementation of competency framework. That's our topic this evening. And I have a keen interest in what he has to say because we share the same discipline. For the past 1-2 episodes now, it seems like we in this discipline have been, chatting the conversation, chatting the cause of the conversations. Today, our guest is a graduate. He's got a BSc honor in sociology from the University of Ibadan. They like to pride themselves as being the premier. But we in Ife don't agree with that. But our guest laughing. But I'll tell you all about him quickly. He not just holds that degree, he holds a postgraduate degree in sociology from the University of Lagos as well. That's an MSc in sociology, specializing in human resource management and complex organization. He is an alumni of the prestigious Lagos Business School, having completed the senior management program as the LBS SMP at the Pan Atlantic University. In terms of his professional affiliations, he is a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria, FCIPM, associate member of the Nigerian Institute of Management, NIM, is also an associate member of the Nigerian Institute of Training and Development, as NITAD. In terms of work experience, he's got it all, a lot under his belt, over 25 years of experience in human resource practice. He has led and managed HR departments in various organizations for the past 10 years, even more. Diverse exposure as well across industries, including consultancy, regulatory institutions, associations, quick service restaurants, oil and gas, logistics, transportation, and manufacturing, as well as distribution. He's got deep expertise in industrial relations, having dealt with unions all across the board. He is currently serving as the head of human resources and administration at NICIL Limited, a synthetic resin manufacturer and distributor based in Ota here in Nigeria. In terms of his core functions, you can term him as someone who is proficient in recruitment, selection, and placement, experience as well in performance management and rewards, compensation management, is skilled in identifying training needs and conducting training needs analysis. It ensures that industrial harmony within organizations are kept at the right levels. Is someone who's also blessed with children and a wife. Is married with 2 boys and a girl. Our guest this evening is Henry Awodele, FCIPM, Head of Human Resource and Administration, NICIL Limited, Ota. Good to have you join us, sir.
Good evening, and how are you? Good to be here.
So when are we going to settle our scores regarding your alma mater? Because we're going to have a problem if care is not taken.
It's no, now, UI is the first university, the premier university. You guys are trying, but the boy is a more time.
We are a force correction. We are great Ife. So great Ife will not fit where.
We are great UIs.
Okay. Anyway, good to have you join us this evening. Welcome.
All right.
That the week has been fantastic for you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
All right, fantastic. Okay. I mean, I'm interested in this because I also studied sociology, but I also
Oh,
add anthropology to it. So a lot of my colleagues
mm,
are also human resource managers right now. If I wasn't doing this, I would have been in this line of work as well. So I'm very keen on what you have to say this evening. And our topic is about design and implementation of competency framework. And it begs the question, do you want to break down what these terms mean? Competency in general, what does it mean in HR?
mm. Oh. So I start with competency. Competency are the integrated knowledge, skills, judgment, and attributes that people need to perform a specific job efficiently and effectively. In profiling a job, you have what we know as a job analysis. The job analysis is made up of the job that the man is going to do, which we call the job description, and of course, the man specification. Man specification is the person that will do the job. Now, the man specification is made up of skills, knowledge, and ability, and that is what we call competency. Now, competency framework is a structure that defines individual competencies such as problem solving, people management, communication skills, data analytics skills, software skills, all those kind of things that people have to do and excel on their job, which is required by the individuals working in organizations. Now, this competency framework provides a systematic and structured approach to talent management and development. Talent management and development, and it aligns individual skills. The business is made up of individuals, the departments, and of course the corporate. So you want to align the individual skills and behavioral to that of the organizational goals and requirements. Now, competency framework recognizes four levels of competence. Now, when you're talking of competence, you are talking of the degree at which you require these competencies. Okay, so you say, for example, you start from basic or entry level, then you move to capable, then you go to professional level, and of course, you go to the expert level. Now, each role, depending on the grade, has each competency level. So you might have this role that will operate at the basic level. You have some other role that will operate at the professional level, at the expert level. Now, what is competency framework? Competency framework is all these skills, knowledge, and ability put together, and how it translates individual skills and ability to achieve corporate goals and objectives. Now, the last part of that question is why competency framework? Competency framework is used in selecting, in recruitment and selection of new staff efficiently and more effectively. For example, before we used to have length of service, paper qualifications, but these days you want to identify the skills that is needed for that role, and you go for that skills. Once you have employed that skills and ability, you have somebody that will be able to do that role. And of course, it also helps us in internal job mappings. Okay, you want to transfer somebody from one department to the other. You want to know what level that person is or what skills that he has in his arsenal and how you can help him to move ahead. You also want to use the competency framework to detect skills gaps. For example, if somebody needs to move from one role to the other, what is the skills gap? Well, how can we help this guy move successfully to one group? What skills does he have? What is the level of that skill? What is the skills that we can bridge that skills gap through interventions of training and development? Now, it also helps us in tailoring our training and professional development plans. You're able to map out the career of somebody. You recruited him from entry level. You want to prepare him for a role. He may be at a professional level. So you start moving him from one of the skills level to the other by training and development. And of course, it helps us in our succession plan. any organization that doesn't have somebody that will take over from the next person, that company organization is going to extinction, because in these days of japa, in these days of volatility of employment, a human capital that comes into the office today might not come in tomorrow. So many things can happen.
Okay.
And so that you don't have a gap, you have succession plan, and you'll be able to map those people for succession at different times.
Okay, I just want us to quickly run through all of these questions. We have loads of questions I want to deal with, and hopefully we can make do with the time that we have. You've spoken about the competency framework now, so we have an idea of what that means. Apart from the human resource department, who else is involved in the design process, and to what degree are they involved? Talking about the proprietor of the business, perhaps the management staff of the organization, and what steps do they have to take, if at all they're even involved in this? What steps do they have to take in the design process?
Thank you. Everybody is involved in competency framework. Let's start from the board or board of directors. We who are the people who set the standard, who set the agenda for the business. They craft what is known as the vision, the mission, the values, and of course the strategic imperatives. Now, what this means is that mission, for example, tells us why are we here? What is it that we are doing? Why are we in this business? Vision tells us where are we going? Value tells us who are we? Strategic imperative tells us how do we put all these things together to achieve our goals. Now, this is set or defined by the board of directors. So they are a stakeholder in the competency framework. We go to management now. The board cascades this mandate to the board, to the management through the managing director or the chief executive. Now, the chief executive cascades this down to his head of department and gives them standards and says, okay, this is the role that we're doing, this is what we want to achieve, this is how we're going to achieve it. They map out the roles that this will have. The head of department cascades it down. So we have the board of directors, we have the management, we have the managers too. Managers will also have to also supervise and monitor the progress of this job. They are the ones that would review, they are the ones that would evaluate, the ones to develop the talents that have so been given to them. And of course, part of the stakeholders are the customers. You need feedback from the customers. You need to know how you are doing in the market. So if your job is not going, and of course, we have the internal and external customers. Internal customers are the people you feed internally, and the customers outside are the people you sell your goods and services. So you have to satisfy both the internal and external customers. So in the value chain of customer framework, you have the board of directors, you have the management staff, you have the managers, you have the supervisors, you have the customers that give feedback. So all of these people help us into knowing what we are doing and how we're doing it and how we are performing. What effectiveness do we have on the job?
So let me compare how it was done, say 5-10 years ago, and how things have changed. Are there tools, are there strategies involved in creating or implementing successfully a competency framework? Are there tools, are there tech tools? How do you come about it?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I got an assignment sometimes in 2021 to work for Wave, what do you call it? Waves. It's a West African vocational educational Wave academies. Okay, they recruited us to do a competency-based selection toolkit. If you go to their site, the toolkit is still there. They are the owner of the toolkit. So, but what I'm saying is that we developed this thing through some of this, but there are some online platforms where you can go and get some of these items, these competency toolkits. Okay, but majorly, before you go onto the you need to know what you want. You need to know what it is that you require so that you don't go for everything. So you need to work with your IT and the HR in-house to the design whatever it is that you need. But there are so many platforms that does this, that gives you this competency framework, competency toolkits where you can use along the line. So many of them, so many of them.
But how effective are they compared to how things were done before and how things are done now? Would you say that
Very,
these
very.
tools are equally or even more effective than the
Okay,
way things were done before?
okay, let's take it from here. Before we hired you to paper qualification, we say we need a graduate of social studies or graduate in arts or graduate in science. Let's take, for example, most banks in those days, and even now, I don't know whether they still do it like that. You go for aptitude test. Somebody who is in art, somebody who is in social science, somebody who is in science, somebody who is an architect, somebody who is engineering. They go for the same test, maybe by WAEC. And the thing they give them there are arithmetic or calculative. So you find out that in most of the banks, you have science students or science graduates. These people do not have the relationship background that a art student or a social science student will have. So when they get to the bank, they are very smart, they are very good, but they don't have relationship. So in recruitment now, or recruitment and selection now, you want to identify the skills. What do we need? Do we need a problem-solving skill here? Do we need a communication skill here? Do we need analytic skills here? Do we need a proficiency in computer or technology, whatever? Once you have identified those things, then you map out how to test it in the people. Once you are able to do it, and studies have shown, for example, the one we did in 2021, that most of the people that we use skills to recruit, aside for length of service, people can get first class in their degree, but when you put them on the job, they can't perform because they don't even understand. I'll give an example. With my master's degree in sociology way back then, I went for an interview, and the man that was interviewing me asked me, what is sociology? Remember, I did BSc, I did MSc, and came out for an interview. They were asking me, what is sociology? I was stammering because all kinds of theories were going on in my head. And by the time the man saw that he said, you see what I'm talking about? That sociology is the study of man and his environment, full stop. And I said, is it that simple? So you need to look for skills, people who, if I had been practical, if I had been doing, instead of just putting books and theories in my head, you will not be able to. But you just see how he just explained it effortlessly. That is the same thing competency framework does in recruitment. That is what competency framework does in performance management. That's what competency framework does in helping you to assess or define skills gap and to develop people and to manage the talents that you have in-house.
Okay, I just want to quickly tell everyone listening right now, I'm speaking to an expert in this regard. If you have questions, let me know immediately. We'll be quick to push across your questions to him. 0809 234 5913. 0809 234 5913. Let's quickly talk about the challenges. Are the challenges that organizations face in a bid to implementing these competency frameworks?
Yes.
And how do they mitigate these challenges?
Yes. Like, for example, like every other HR value chain, they are based on behavioral observations and sometimes information provided by the incumbent. What you need to rely on until you have tested them is information from the person that is sitting in that position. Is the one that will tell you, this is how I've done this, this is how I've done this. And that is dependent on the individual attitude and exposure. Sure, you understand? The way he understands the job, the way the passion he puts into the job will help you to determine what he does. And that is a gap. And of course, most of these things are paper-based. It is what you say, okay, problem-solving skills. You have to take a decision, you have to go through this route. These are paper-based. So to translate them into theory, into practical, it also has a gap. So because it might not be as perfect as it is, when you, because like the study I told you that we did in 2021, when we went into the field, we found that yes, these things that theories and all kind of things that, but when we got to the market, we found yes, it looks like, but there are a little variances. So that is the same thing that we're talking about here. They have challenges, but one of the things that we must do and do correctly in competency-based competency framework is that we must define the competencies. We must define the base level, I mean, the level of competence that we're talking about, and we must be able to identify which competence or competencies is ideal for that role. Once you get it right, it works. But if you don't get it right, because of the information you have received, they fall out like a pack of cards.
Okay, you're listening to 91.3 Lagos Talks. This is The Office. The Office is proudly brought to you by CIPM and Lagos Talks 91.3. And have been speaking with Henry Awodele, FCIPM. He is the head of Human Resource and Administration, NICIL Limited in Ota, Ogun State. Okay, so that pushes us to our next question. I mean, organizations right now want to cut costs. So I don't know to what extent they would be willing to venture into this, idea of mapping out a competency framework. But I'm sure it's one of your big advices that you give to any startup at the moment. To emerging organizations right now, just starting out with a limited resources, how would you advise they move forward, and how can they effectively design and implement a good competency framework that actually works?
Okay, let me start by saying that the first thing you do is align your competency framework to your corporate objectives. That's why we say that you follow the line of the vision, mission, values. Those are the HR architecture. That is where the company is going. That is where your line of thought should be. So when you define those things and align it to the corporate goals, you cascade it down from the board to the list of the staff, you are not going to get it wrong. You will get it right because you have aligned those roles to what the business needs. Now, as to the how we do it, let me quickly run through a 5-step way of designing and implementing a competency design. Number one, outline. That is that you outline the principles of your competency framework. What do you want to achieve? What are the principles? What do you want to do? You want to do a skills gap? You want to recruit? You want whatever it is, that define it. And in defining it, number one step of defining is get information from the incumbent staff on that role, because that person who has been doing it knows more about that job than whoever is not there. Communicate the reason so that you don't start assuming. Use relevant competencies. Don't use things that, be sure that this competency is what is needed. It is problem solving. It is communication skills. It is analytic skills. It is team spirit. It is, once you have done that, the step 2 is define the purpose and structure of your competency model. What is the structure? What is the purpose? Define them. Let it be known to everybody. Use it to fine-tune your training programs. Because when you do this thing, you need to and spot and close. You'll be able to spot and close competence or skills gaps when you do this. Okay. The third step is create a project team and gather some information, some more information. Who is going to work on this team? Gather them from different departments so that it's not one department that's running it. It's not HR. You need to get a line to be part of this. You need to get IT. Okay. You need to get the accounts department. You need to get, okay, when you have collected created the project team, you put them, they go to work, you put together the draft of this competency framework, and of course, you subject it to test. And when you subject it to test, it leads you straight away to the step 5 or the final step, that is get ready for rollout. And getting ready for rollout, you double check it's linked. Whatever you have gotten is linked to the objective of the business. You check to see the rewards and remuneration package aligned to those roles, because you cannot give somebody a role and give him a reward or compensation that is lower than that role, or give him a compensation that is higher than that role. make sure that the company can provide relevant coaching and training to help those that you have either upgraded or changed into new roles. You understand? You don't just create them and leave them to hang. You need to make sure that there's enough resource in the house to take care of those people who you have given a new role, who you have identified their skills and put somewhere. And of course, make sure that the framework that you have designed is convenient and straightforward to use, not complicated. Not something that everybody is running about. So long as you do that, it will be easy. And of course, get everybody together to do it like the team. So it's not somebody racking his brain. Everybody comes to do it, and you review and you roll out.
I think that's my takeaway from that. It's an all-encompassing endeavor. Everyone, apart from the HR department, is involved in mapping out a competency framework that actually works. Before we wrap things up, I mean, in final words, what would you say are tech trends that could impact the design and implementation of a competency framework?
Again?
What would you say are tech trends, technological trends that you think that could impact perhaps negatively or even positively the mapping out or the implementation of frameworks like this?
You see, most people want to, they don't, let me use this. You cut your coat according to the clothes that you have. Don't go for, these are the best in town. You go for that software. That software might not align with what you have on ground or what you really needed. So it is better to have your in-house team, like I've said, your IT, the HR, the line, everybody say, okay, there are so many softwares out there. There are so many platforms out there. What is ideal for us? Which one has worked in this industry? Which ones do we require? For example, you might find that they just only Excel. Microsoft Excel can do the job. And yet you are gunning for a video or a game, whatever it is that is on the, or that is out there, and they give you some a big amount. So what I will advise is cut your code according to what you have. Go get what you need from your internal experts, and when you got those things, go for what would work for you.
Okay.
There's so many out there. Even if you Google it, you get so many. But go for what would work for you. Don't go for names. Go for what would work for you.
Okay, that's an efficient way of going about it. Do you have any concluding thoughts as we wrap up the conversation about, just do it in about 45 seconds if possible?
What I would give as a parting shot is that don't rely on paper qualification anymore. Length of service do not work anymore. You go for skills. You want to identify the skills of your staff. You want to improve on the skills of your staff. You want to develop them. You want to manage your talents by yourself. You want to do everything so that you get the best. And the best way to do the best is to build your team. And competency framework will help you tremendously in building your team, because somebody comes in as an entry level. It will be a good thing for an HR man or HR practitioner to see that person become an expert. And that is what we needed to do that will give us satisfaction and fulfillment. Go for skills and not for paper qualification.
Skills, and that should inform the labor force right now. Upskilling is very key, gives you an edge, correct? Yeah. All right, Henry, Awodele, thank you so much. It's been a fantastic conversation. I think we're able to cover as much as possible. We'll settle our scores later when it comes to our
Great
UI. Just speaking with you. It's been a pleasure as well. Thank you so much.
All right, then. Thank you so much. It's good to be here, and thanks for the
have a good evening.
Opportunity.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. You're welcome.
Okay, you're listening to 91.3 Lagos Talks. That's about it. This has been The Office. The Office is proudly brought to you by the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria, CIPM, and Lagos Talks 91.3. Same time next week, Thursday, 4:30. we get to bring you yet another exciting edition of The Office. Up next is Critical Thinking on 91.3.
It's Lagos Talks 1.3. Your drive time gets better with Lagos Talks. We understand the essence of variety, so with us, you don't get a straight jacket program lineup.